Alright guys, I feel I need to address this new Mega Evolution situation. If you follow along with my Make a Mega series, you'll know that at the beginning of my Mega Lapras episode, I curiously mentioned that it seemed like members of the Pokemon community were not only wanting new Megas, but seemingly also expecting them. That was the impression I got anyway, so I briefly mentioned it at the beginning of my Lapras episode, and afterwards the one and only PokeTy 90 apparently did some sleuthing and found out the reason behind these theories. Apparently the Pokemon Company recently applied to renew a copyright for some of their names, these names being of a few Gen 1 Pokemon who do not have Megas. Keep that in mind as I say this next part. Apparently the last time they did something like this was when they added the new Megas back in Gen 6. Now, I don't know anything about copyright or, reapplying for licenses or whatever, so I didn't initially let that bit of information get me too excited, because I figured maybe for the new games they just want to renew the names of all the Gen 1 Pokemon, But PokeTy went even farther and dropped a list. It wasn't just every Gen 1 Pokemon, there was a specific list that he dropped. This is the list he gave me. Golem, Machamp, Raichu, Jinx, Starmie, Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, Arbok, Weezing, Persian, Vaporeon, Jolteon and Flareon, and Dragonite. Now, before we go crazy, let's analyze this. Again, I know nothing about copyright or any of that, but I would think that if they needed to renew a name for something when they make a new form of something, then things like Persian and Golem would have recently got one when they got their Alolan forms. I also think it's weird how, as I mentioned, not every Gen 1 Pokemon got one of these. It's all Pokemon that don't currently have Mega Evolutions, excluding a few unfortunate choices like I'm seeing no Golduck, no Butterfree, no Rapidash. So as much as I want to try to treat this theory with a little skepticism, I just find it a little convenient that it's these specific Pokemon that are on this supposed list. And to add on to that, I didn't even pay attention to this at first, but the fact that Arbok and Weezing are there after the news that Jesse and James from the anime would be, returning to the games, because this is taking a lot of influence from Pokemon Yellow, which they were in. So I wonder if maybe Jesse and James are gonna get a buff and get a Mega Weezing and Arbok. I think that'd be pretty clean. By the way, the game I'm talking about is Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee Edition, the games which are coming out for Switch in a few months. This doesn't have anything to do with Gen 8. This is information being applied to Let's Go. And this brings me to my next point, that it looks like in Let's Go there are no abilities, which would mean that a lot of Pokemon, including Megas, would get huge nerfs. And I'm just talking about the Megas that they already have confirmed, like the starters, Kangaskhan, Gyarados, etc. But many people are saying they don't feel like they would add new Megas in now, since there are no abilities in the game. So why even make new Megas if they're just gonna have no abilities? Which is a fair point, but I don't see why they couldn't give us the Megas in this game with no abilities, and then in Gen 8, just give them the abilities they would have. I don't know, maybe that makes a little too much sense, which is why people aren't on board. I'm not even sure I'm on board with this whole theory anymore myself, especially because I just can't see things like Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon getting Mega Evolutions, and the other evolutions not. But then again, I felt the same way with Alakazam, Gengar, and Golem and Machamp, and now apparently Golem and Machamp are getting them, just like about a month after I made that video. But speculation whether this is true or not aside, I would be overwhelmingly excited if this were true and all these Pokemon were getting Megas. I, of course, already gave my thoughts on how I would make a Mega Golem and Mega Machamp, and going forward with this series, I will try to prioritize Mons on this list when making my new episodes of Make a Mega. So in the upcoming future, I will probably make a video about every Mon on here. I'll try to get all of them done before news of their official announcement comes, if it ever does. If it doesn't, I guess I'll just look like a fool, but I'll still have fun making these Megas regardless. And then to conclude today, I have something a little different. After giving me that information, PokeTy gave me a list of Mons he would like to make Megas, and he gave me the information of how he would go about making Megas for them. He said he wanted to make this video himself, but didn't, and he wanted me to, so as a way to say thank you for giving me that list, I agreed to make these Megas, but I didn't really know how to do it. He didn't give me like a full list of how or why, so I'm just gonna compile them all in this special video. I figured it would be pretty fitting. In fact, some of the Mons he listed are on that list. Not all of them though. A bunch of them are from non-Kanto regions. So yeah, without any further ado, let me just start reading off his list. He starts off with Jinx, who I believe was on the list. He opted to keep Jinx's Ice and Psychic typing. For ability, he made a new one called Third Eye, which he wrote all moves hit. So it sounds like this is just a buffed version of No Guard, unless it is just a copy of No Guard. Either way, this would be pretty busted on Jinx, who could just spam things like Blizzard and even Lovely Kiss. In addition to that, he would give Jinx 40 additional speed, bumping it up to 135. 40 special attack, bumping it up to 155, and then 20 SPDF, putting it at 115. For his thoughts on its viability, he wrote OU or maybe Uber due to Lovely Kiss and Blizzard, which I kind of have to agree with. I feel like this might push Jinx over the edge. It would still be incredibly frail physically, but I think the speed, the power, and the ability to just spam things like Blizzard and Lovely Kiss would probably push it up to Ubers. So yeah, that's about it for Jinx. Now he moves on to Tauros, who I don't remember being on the list. He retains its pure normal typing. For the ability, he actually gave it Moxie. And then for its stat buffs, he would give it 40 attack, putting it at 140, a 30 to speed, putting it also at 140, and then 30 to special defense, putting it at 100. For thoughts on it, he brought up Intimidate being a good choice pre-Mega. Since you don't have a life orb, you can't really make as much use out of sheer force. So Intimidate would be pretty good. And then Moxie would help you boost after you intimidate your opponent. As for Small Gun viability, he would put it in UU or OU. And I feel like I agree. At first, I didn't think I could see it dropping below OU because I felt like since it outsped Lopunny, it would outclass Mega Lopunny, but that might not be the case. I still think it might be too good for UU and might find its home in BL, but I think it could viably be an OU as well. Alright, and then the final Mon he had for Kanto is Dragonate, who I know was on the list. For Dragonate, he would give it the ability Dragonate, which that probably wouldn't be the finalized name, but you should know what it is. It's the dragon type version of Aerialate, where normal type moves would become dragon type, and you get like a 1.2 times boost in addition to your stab. So we're already talking like incredible levels of power, like Mega Mence level. But then for the stats, he would give it 25 attack, putting it up to 159, 30 speed, putting it at 110, 15 defense, putting it also at 110, 10 SPDF, putting it also at 110, and 20 special attack, putting it at 120. So a pretty well-rounded distribution, all things considered, but his thoughts and mine tend to align. Just rhymed right there. He wrote Uber for sure, because extreme speed, plus the coverage, plus the additional stats would just be too much, and I definitely agree. Being able to DD in regular form with your multi-scale, then Mega Evolve, getting insane amounts of boosts would be enough on its own but like the special attack buffs, the coverage, it adds even more onto this Pokemon, and I think this would definitely make it Uber's material. Then he left 3 from Johto, the first one being Kingdra, who he would retain its Water Dragon type. The ability though he would give it is Adaptability, and for the stats, he gave 40 additional speed, putting it at 125, 30 special attack, putting that also at 125, and 30 attack, putting that again also at 125. And his conclusion was that its great typing, its ability to be a mixed attacker, and its phenomenal ability in adaptability, this would set it solidly in OU, and I'm more inclined to think maybe BL. It would certainly be OU viable, but with things like Pex, fairies, and stuff running around, I think even these buffs wouldn't make it ideal in OU. But I definitely think it's way too good for UU, so UUBL at least, and OU viable too. And for the second Johto Pokemon, he opted for Stantler. For the ability, he gave it Rattled, and for the stat buffs, he would give it 30 additional to attack, putting it at 125, 40 to defense, putting it at 102, 40 to special defense, putting it at 105, and 15 to speed, putting it at 100, while subtracting 25 from special attack. For thoughts about it, he listed Intimidate being a good ability prior to Mega, allowing it to take hits better, and then Rattled would allow it to get a speed boost. And for viability, he said it would be in UU or RU, and I feel like that's a good spot to put it viably. I feel like it's just a little too mediocre everywhere to really shine anywhere. So RU and UU seem like a good place. I'm actually leaning more towards RU to be honest, but yeah. Anyway, the final mon from Johto I would like to give a Mega to, coinciding with Tauros, is Miltank. For the ability, he would give it Unaware, and for the stats, he would give it 30 additional defense, putting it at 140, 45 special defense, putting it at 115, and 20 attack, putting it at a solid 100. As for his thoughts on it, he said it would be a big tank with a decent 100 base speed and thinks it would be in UU, and I feel like that might be a little too high for it. It would definitely be UU viable, perhaps even OU viable, but I feel like maybe RU would be a better home for it, I don't know, but definitely UU viable at least. Alright, now on to Hoenn, the first one on Ty's list being Tropius. He would switch it to Grass Dragon from Grass Flying, and for the ability he'd give it Thick Fat. As for the stats, Ty would give it 50 additional defense and special defense, while subtracting 40 from its attack and boosting 40 special attack. This puts its defense and special defense at 133 and 137 respectively, and its special attack at a respectable 112. For his thoughts about it, he actually wrote, "Sadly can't ever be good," which I don't know if I agree with that. I feel like it's cool having a grass dragon that's bulky, like we have Mega Skeptile that's like potently offensive, but this, with all that bulk and thick fat, I feel like this might have a niche. Ty thinks RU, I think that's a pretty fair spot to put it. It might even be viable in, the above tiers, but I think RU is a good spot for it. Anyway, second mon from Hoenn would be Claydol, who retains its Psychic and Ground type, but with the ability Magic Guard, and 40 additional defense, putting it at 145, 20 additional special defense, putting it also at 145, and 35 special attack, putting it at 105. And for his analysis, he said he likes it. He likes the idea of a good tank and thinks it would be UU. And well, I feel like Magic Guard and alleviating knockoff by holding a Mega Stone would definitely give it more bulk. I feel like lack of recovery via a move or even leftovers just prevents it from ever really shining as a tank. So I think maybe UU viable, maybe even OU viable, but probably more fitted for RU in my opinion. I don't know though. Ty's final Hoenn is none other than Walrein. Let's go. He would retain Water Ice typing. For the ability, he has Ice Armor, which reduces super effective damage and super effective hazard damage, he said. What this is, Ty left a comment when I made my Mega Lapras Mega episode, he left his idea for an Ice Armor ability that's basically a buffed version of the Ice Cloak that I made. It's basically like Solid Rock where you reduce super effective damage, but apparently you also take less damage from entry hazards. I don't think this ability would ever work. Like, I don't see this as something Game Freak would ever actually implement, but let's continue. For the stats, I would give 35 defense, 35 special defense, putting them both at 125, and 30 special attack, putting that also at 125. For Ty's analysis, he thinks it would be a pretty fat tank, but thinks its lack of good support moves or recovery would limit it to UU or RU at best, and I have to agree. Like, I think recovery would be all it needs to be UU or maybe even OU, but without that, yeah, I can't see above UU. Alright, now from Sinnoh, the first one Ty listed is Luxray, who becomes Electric Dark type, which I know is something a lot of people have wanted, with the ability Strong Jaw, which I believe is also pretty fitting. For stats, Ty would give it 40 additional attack, putting it at 160, 40 speed, putting it at 110, 20 defense, putting it at 99, 20 special defense, putting that at 99, while subtracting 20 from special attack. I'm not really a fan of taking away from special attack on Luxray, but I do think it's nice to buff its other stats, so I'll go along with it. For Ty's thoughts, he wrote, similar to Arrow, bulkier, better typing, slower, and intimidate pre-mega helps. I don't know if he meant to write Sharpedo. I think that's a much more reasonable comparison than Arrow. Yeah, I don't know what he meant though, but for Smogon viability, he thinks UU or OU. I think UU. In OU right now, I think with Coco running around, it would find itself in a similar position to Mega Manectric, who I feel like it would get compared to in UU too, so I don't know, obviously both would be different, so might be cool to see them compete for which one's the top UU electric type. Next for Sinnoh, he has Drapion, who retains Dark Poison type, with the ability Tough Claws though. For the stats, he would give it 40 additional attack, putting it at 130, 30 special defense, putting it at 105, 30 defense, putting it at 140, while subtracting 15 from special attack and adding 15 to speed, putting speed at 110. And for his analysis, he just said great typing and believes it would be an OU. And while I don't think it's great typing alone would make it OU, I think its stats plus its like really good move pool and Tough Claws, I think yeah, OU viable. It might find itself in UU or BL, but definitely OU viable in my opinion. And finally from Sinnoh, Ty would have Carnivine, who becomes Grass Rock and gains the ability Solid Rock. For its stats, he would subtract 20 from attack, boost its defense and special defense by 50 each, putting them at 122, and boosting its special attack by 20, bumping it up to 110. For his thoughts, he just said cool typing and thinks it would be RU or UU. I personally don't see this thing going above RU, to be honest. Just seems a little lackluster. It's definitely tanky, but I don't feel like this would ever shine in anything above RU, so yeah. Onto Unova, the first mon he'd give a mega is Sigilif, who retains its flying and psychic typing, but gets the ability Magic Bounce, with 25 additional defense and special defense, bumping them up to 105, 30 additional special attack, putting it at 133, and 20 speed, putting it at 117. For his thoughts, he wrote he thinks it would be pretty good, but it would need to rely on Focus Blast, which I don't know if I agree with. I'm familiar with the set it runs now, which is like Calm Mind Stored Power, or maybe it's not Calm Mind, it might be whatever it is, but I don't think I've ever seen one use Focus Blast. I don't think it needs to, but either way, I feel like the speed, the power, and the bulk plus Magic Bounce, I feel like it would be too good for UU, so if it wouldn't be able to fit its way into OU, I feel like BL for sure. I feel like it's way too good for UU though. Anyway, next Unovamon is Zebstrika, who becomes Electric Ice for some reason, while gaining Speed Boost. while giving it 20 additional attack, putting it at 120, 30 defense, putting it at 93, 20 special attack, putting it at 100, and 30 special defense, putting it at 93. So Ty took a completely different approach than like what I was expecting. He didn't boost its speed at all, instead relying on a broken ability like speed boost. He buffed all its other stats, which is, pretty good. But the thing I really don't get is the ice typing. Like, it actually comes out of nowhere. I don't think Zebstrika even learns an ice move, so if this were to just gain ice typing, I don't think it would really benefit from it because it doesn't know any ice moves. It knows fire moves, and ice Pokemon that can use fire moves is just weird. So I don't know, I really don't foresee Mega Zebstrika becoming Electric Ice. But if it did, Ty thinks its new typing would make it OU, and while I feel like Speed Boost alone might make it OU, I feel like even though Electric Ice is very good typing, I feel like its offensive stats are just not really good enough to make it like broken. So maybe OU, maybe BL, maybe even Ubers. Anyway, for the final Unovamon, Ty elected Golurk, who keeps its Ghost ground typing, but gets the ability Contrary. For its stats, he gave it 40 additional defense and special defense, bumping them up to 120, while giving it 20 attack, bumping it up to 144. And for his thoughts, he thinks Superpower plus Contrary could make it a formidable threat, and thinks it would be UU, and I kind of agree with this. I feel like it might end up being too good for UU, and it's definitely OU viable, so maybe BL, but overall, yeah. And here we are at the end of the list. The final Pokemon, one remaining from Kalos, the well-deserved Florges in my opinion. For Florges, Ty opted to keep its pure fairy typing. For the ability, he gave it Water Absorb, which makes sense because it's kind of like a flower, so it can absorb water. Surprising he didn't make it grass typing, but anything is better than Florges' current ability at the moment, so I'll take it. For stats, Ty gave it 40 defense and 40 special defense, bumping them up to 108 and 194 respectively, while giving it 20 special attack, putting it at 132. And for his thoughts, he says flowers need water, hence the ability, and he thinks it'd be a great wall and tank, and feels it would be OU. I don't know about OU, because I feel like it would still get a lot of competition from the prevalent fairies, like the Tapus, Clefable, Diancie, not Diancie, well I guess Diancie, but more so Magearna. But then again, that special defense stat is nothing to joke about. Combine that with its solid recovery, not to mention it would have Water Absorb to recover in a new way now, and I feel like it's OU viable for sure. Probably too good for UU, so at least BL, maybe OU. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes PokeTy's list of Pokemon he would like to give Mega Evolutions. This dragged on a bit longer than I was expecting. I figured it would be about 15 minutes in total. So if you stuck with me throughout this whole video, thank you. Let me know what you think about all of these evolutions that PokeTy came up with. And definitely let me know how you feel about potential megas coming to Pokemon Let's Go. Like I said, I will be prioritizing that list for future episodes of Make a Mega, and I'll try to get those done before Let's Go comes out. So if you're looking forward to those, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, I believe that's all for this special installment of Make a Mega. So until the next time, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and have a good day, guys.